Power is always dangerous.
The winter is coming.
I'm getting lost in the details of nothing.
Remember the first time you saw Star Wars? We were still living at your mom's house.
Dwight and Bodhi lay out the casino plan for Jimmy. As pressure increases, Dwight, Mitch, and Tyson assemble their team. Stacy confronts Waltrip. This is Season 1, Episode 8 of Tulsa King, Adobe Walls, and you are channel surfing with the Bargain Bin. Description from IMDB, we will not be holding back on spoilers. I am Sandro, and I am joined, as always, by my podcast partner in crime, Ben, and our neighbor downstairs, Mark. So, what did we think?
Boys, I think we're back on top. This episode is something I think all of us have been craving. It definitely harkened back to some of the humor that we were missing, but also progressed the story more than any other episode we've covered so far. Mark, we start off with Mitch training what I call the Tulsa posse right now. What are your
really
the TP? I didn't think about it. What do you think about this scene?
All right, gentlemen. I know it's been one podcast. I know it's been one podcast week in podcast relativity time, but it's been a month and 4 days since we've done this. And what better of an episode to come back to than this?
So good.
Holy
so very good.
crap hole. That beginning was just I could have just watched that on loop and just laughed and probably found about 15 different things every time I watched it.
All three of us were laughing throughout the entire scene. But Mitch trying to teach everybody how to fire a gun is probably one of the funniest things I've seen in this show.
It's beautiful. And even watching the felon hold the gun, I'm like, he's not holding it exactly right either. And then I'm watching these other people, and it is comical, to say the least.
Well, even Bodhi and his disdain for firearms is played so well. Martin Starr nailed that. He wasn't even really in that scene for that much. But Tyson holding the gun sideways,
all
absolutely
gangsta.
Amazing.
It was all gangsta. But even going back to Bodhi, the way he was pinching the end of it, like just the way he was holding it like it was rotten fruit.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't. Oh, man.
I did enjoy how Mitch said that he could probably recruit some ex-con friends. Dwight's all about that.
I think we're good to go there.
Yeah.
And how about the young lady who can competency, my friend?
Well, that's what
had skills.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Grace from the dispensary totally steps up in this episode more than we've ever seen her in the show so far. Probably the most dialogue she's had happened in 20 seconds of this one episode.
And to be completely honest with that, I sensed her starting to become that about 3 episodes ago. They showed her like once, and then they showed her like off her meds, and then she kind of was normal-ish or like was like engaged or something.
Oh, you're right.
And they kept it felt like they kept inching her and eking her in. I thought this was a brilliant way to bring in a new character, but one who's been there this whole time, but now just starts to shine.
And I absolutely love her attitude here too, because she even takes a jab at Dwight.
She's not afraid to speak her mind.
Yeah,
sure.
We're living the Dwight life now. So she needs to know how to fire a gun. Like that is amazing.
Yeah, and she knows how to fire a gun.
Yeah. And this one scene puts us right back on track to where we wanted the show to go.
Sandro, you were laughing, right? I mean, we were all just spitting at whatever we had in our mouths out, right?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had comedy like this in the show, and every time they've done this type of comedy, it's been done super well, and we've really enjoyed it. So it is actually really nice that, it's the penultimate episode, but it just kind of reminds you before things are really going to hit the fan that, yes, we have a lighthearted side, and we can still do this.
We all know where we're going with this show. There's going to be a very violent showdown. So even though this is a training scene for that, and it's this funny, the writing is on point. We can all agree. Like Mark, like you said, we all laughed out loud at numerous points. And does the rest of the episode hold up to this one scene? Yes and no. There are different arguments to make. But what a great way to start off.
It certainly didn't fall off a cliff drop. It certainly, I don't think it could have stayed at that just level, because it was some relief. I think the last episode was so tense, and this just completely brought it back. It's like, oh, here are the misfits that fit together themselves, but really wouldn't fit together in the world that they're in. And this guy brought them together, but he brought them together in a violent way. But is that cool that he brought them together because he now has a group of people, or is the way that he brought them together not okay? You know, it's like very weird philosophical questions.
It is a very good question. Unfortunately for the three of us, they follow up the scene with Stacy. And yeah, she confronts Waltrip about Roxy's absence. So Roxy, who was trying to steal data from the laptop, and Waltrip caught her and murdered her, choked her out, strangled her to death. I hate to say that we need Stacy in this show, but I think we do, because she is honestly driving some of the main plot elements. The character is not interesting, but the way that she's interacting with both Waltrip and Dwight very much is necessary to move the story along.
The way they brought her back in this one was very well done.
Agreed.
Even though we're just like over it, I think we've kind of just, unfortunately, kind of the jury's out. It's going to be very hard for her to kind of capture us back.
Oh, there's no way.
She's not bad. It's just weird. It's just not something that we were looking for in this type of show, I think. But that said, they did okay.
It's nothing to say that the acting is fine. It's just the character
absolutely
seems aimless.
Right. But the way they brought her back in, you know, they stick her back in, not going after Dwight or not with Dwight, and then it comes back, rolls back around. But God, can she just stay away for 2 seconds, please?
She's a plot convenience, and they're using her as such. And I get it. It works. But I want to move on to the next scene, which is the casino plan. Mark, I don't know if you want to take this or not, but I have to say, the idea of putting everything casino related in Jimmy's name is both hilarious and ominous.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem, because now he's in for a pound, and the human nature is always to get a pound plus one.
I am a firm believer in that we're going to lose Jimmy this season, and I don't like that.
He seems like a nice guy. I thought the interaction was great. Once again, that was a great scene. The way they laid out, and Bodhi's like, I laid out a business plan. Here's a nice spiralized, perforated, folder portfolio for you. What do you think, Sandro?
But more importantly, did you bring any of that apricot jelly?
Thank you for mentioning that.
This scene was unfortunately the saddest one for me in the episode, though, because we get that little tidbit where he tells us Badface is in jail, and I just get the realization, no more Badface.
Yet. No more Badface yet. I believe that if what I think is going to happen actually happens and Jimmy bites it, we're going to get Badface on a mad rampage once he gets out of prison.
I think they foreshadowed that Badface is going to be the owner casino.
Yeah,
but it's going to be hard with the other priors, they said, though, right? Didn't he hint that he had a bunch of priors?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that'll work, but it's a federal thing versus a Native American thing. So a lot of times those things do not transfer. So,
guys, you're missing the big picture here. Dwight is going to be arrested. I predicted it way near the beginning of the season that at the end of this season, I expect him to either be dead or in jail.
Yeah, that was pretty much from the very beginning. I think you called that.
Yeah, I said it was the Sean Bean character, right?
Yeah,
bring
absolutely.
in the big name to get you hooked, introduce to you the other characters, kind of set them up on their own 2 feet, and then he can bow out in some regard. But now I'm thinking they're going to run a business on 2 fronts, and he and Badface are going to team up in jail.
Oh my God. What an amazing idea.
He's recruiting from the inside while he's biding his time, waiting for trial or something.
Can you imagine?
That would be awesome.
Imagine.
He just comes out with 20 dudes.
That's just it. He gets arrested, sent to prison. He's in there with Badface. Meanwhile, Chicky and the crew take over all of Dwight's endeavors. And then Dwight comes out of prison.
And he gets to get him back.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
Oh my God.
Wow. Gentlemen, I think we can screw AI, man. We can write our own show.
You guys are missing something here.
We're missing a lot today. What's going on? All right.
Who was arrested this episode as well? Like the entire biker gang.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
Dwight and Badface are going to be busy on the inside fighting the biker gang, while Dwight's crew that he has established is going to be on the outside fighting off Dwight's old mafia friends.
Is there going to be like a spinoff? There's going to be like a Tulsa King and then like a Tulsa jail, Tulsa cell or something?
No, this is where I think that there's a deal struck between FX and Paramount, and we get Sons of Anarchy cameo.
There you go. Interesting. It was entertaining. Yeah. So that meeting. So can we go through really quickly with Jimmy? He gets what, 1% of all the revenue? Is that correct?
I thought they said 20.
Oh, 20%. Yeah. And he just puts his name down and they do all the legalese, right? The legal
It
work.
Is a decent deal.
Yeah,
if
totally.
Everything goes properly, which we know it won't.
Right. It can. I mean, he's going to be connected to the bad stuff.
I have to ask both of you, were either of you disappointed after this amazing opening when we cut to Chicky and the boys? I found it kind of depressing. I was like, oh yeah, right, this story's happening. I'm so invested in what's going on with Dwight and Mitch and Bodhi and Tyson and all the guys, even Jimmy, Badface. I forgot the actual plot of the season. And when we got back into it, it's starting to feel kind of tired for me, but I know it's ramping up to a showdown, which I'm excited to see. I don't like what we've seen of Chicky in the last few episodes. So I just kind of want that story to come and go. How do you feel about Chicky and the boys planning Dwight's death and how Goody is trying to interfere within the conversation?
Well, first of all, you have to move forward with this because we've only got this episode and one more for this season.
Yeah.
So even if it is a little deflating, you have to get back to Chicky. But I am still concerned because he clearly has doubters on the inside. They make it very clear. And then obviously he also puts his hands on that guy. There's going to be people that are following along, but also raising an eyebrow. And Chicky could very well, just as much as lose to Dwight's crew, lose control of his own crew.
Interesting. I kind of want to see that now.
There's definitely an alignment issue, right?
What was the friend that went to visit Dwight already?
That was the guy standing next to Chicky. It wasn't the guy who spoke up, right?
It was Goody.
He was quiet. Goody
right. Was standing next to Chicky.
Right. He didn't say a word, and I thought he would have said something, which he didn't.
And I think that that's a little telling because he seemingly went along with this way too easily. And I feel like Goody could actually end up kind of standing up as leading a bit of an internal resistance with some of these older people that see that Chicky's not doing right by them.
Could he maybe just warn him?
Well, I'm thinking he might be Dwight's intel.
Right, in that way, in the inside, right? Like warn him of what's going on. My actual thought, now I don't know how quickly how long Dwight's going to be arrested or whatever, because they didn't really technically arrest. They grabbed him, right? They held him. Like we're assuming. Say he gets out on bail or whatever. I have a feeling the meeting with him and whatever might be a time when the bikers happen to be trying to go after him. And there will just be one of those crazy, like confusing kind of situations. But, I just went really crazy on that one.
Honestly, it's entirely possible. They can go in very many directions right now and they would all make sense.
Yeah, and that's kind of nice is that it does leave it very open for many different avenues.
What did you guys think about the back and forth between Dwight and Tyson after that? It was a very short scene, but I think it was a much needed tension breaker. Again, getting a bit more humor. And I don't know why they do this. And sorry, I know I just asked you both a question, but I'm going to skip ahead here. We just go right back to Stacy and her not reacting well to hearing about Dwight potentially having a girlfriend. So it seems like the show is kind of going hot and cold for me. We get a great opener, and then a bit of a downplay, and then a little bit of humor, and then something that I think we all find annoying in Stacy's scenes. But Mark, you were pretty vocal when we were watching about Stacy and her reaction to Dwight's potential relationship with Margaret. Any thoughts?
Yes, I have many thoughts about that. I was very excited at the end of the episode. But no, to answer your first question, what I think what's going on with Tyson is, once again, Dwight's not giving him everything, obviously for his protection, but Tyson's trying to be a man. He's leaving the house. He just hugged his dad goodbye. Like that kid has zero idea about the reality of what he's getting himself into and what he's like stepping away from.
Yeah.
And he really won't. I'm just wondering how what's gonna happen. What are your thoughts on that before we bash Stacy some more? And in a very just kind way, not in a physical or emotionally abusive way.
I feel like Tyson has taken a bit of a backseat for the last few episodes, and with what I think we all agree is going to be Dwight in prison for a little while, if anything. I see Mitch taking the lead, and I see Tyson being his sergeant at arms. And I think this is the first sign we get that he is going out on his own. He's going to forge his own way. And I don't think it's going to go well. I think he's going to become very violent, even based off of how he's trying to fire the gun at the very beginning of the episode. He has this idea of what it's like to be tough, and that's not reality, but he's not aware of that. Him leaving his family, him leaving Mark, and him not having Dwight to keep him in check, I think is going to be pretty dark, pretty interesting moving into season 2.
Yeah, I'm curious what's going to shake or break or forge him to be the actual person that comes out of this.
Oh, shit. Do you think we could end up seeing Tyson versus Dwight at some point?
I could see that down the road. What are your thoughts about all this stuff, Sandro?
No.
Honestly, I think Sandra's probably right here. It's just an interesting idea.
I like it.
It doesn't really make sense for where we're going. I would just like to entertain the idea of if that's where we ended up, what would happen.
I could see him turn, because I've seen this happen before. I mean, it's rare, but I've seen someone turn and then lose, and it's like, man, I trusted you, buddy. I just need you to stay with me, and you didn't.
Yeah.
That's lesson learned. And if they are downplaying his role, then there's some point they're just going to remove him. So, I mean, that is a thought.
I want to move on to something a little bit lighter, and that is us meeting.
Phone call from the daughter.
No. So we are not there yet. Trust me.
Hold on. We didn't even bash Stacy yet. So we bring up Stacy, and then Sandra brings up the daughter. They're our two favorite parts of this entire season.
We have to bring up something good first.
Okay, let's do it.
Mitch's friends who show up and meet Dwight.
Oh, the ex-con rodeo workers. We
have 2 amazing quotes. Don't mind the blood. I work at a slaughterhouse. Dwight says, you're hired. The next guy, I will kill without remorse.
And he stares at him with those light eyes. Oh,
amazing. I don't even know the names of these characters, and I already love them.
I was too busy laughing, and I'm like, come on, bad face. We just need him like heading these guys. Like Suicide Squad 2.0 or something.
3.0, come on.
I guess we're on like iteration 15.
But yeah, we get to see Mark again, which, I mean, you both know I love Mark. He's one of my favorite characters. And it is a really good heart-to-heart he has with his son. Tyson.
Can we address about the mother? He's like, is mom going to come out to hug goodbye? And he's like, she can't. She's too busy crying. I mean, come on. That just tells you everything you need to know.
That's why I think we're going to get a dark turn here.
Yeah, something's going to have to happen.
But my next note says, and I'm just going to tell you straight up, it's ... And now we get Tina.
Well, I find the placement of these scenes to be interesting because they are back to back. And you have Tyson kind of having a goodbye with his dad, which it really feels like his dad has finally said, look, I tried. You aren't listening. You're on your own. He's always going to be there for him, but it's like he even just said, like, I'm not there's no point in me kind of trying to convince you not to do this anymore.
Yep.
And then you follow that with a scene where Dwight is telling his daughter, don't come here, obviously because he knows that there is some danger afoot, but he doesn't outright say it. And then she essentially is like, okay, I'm being brushed off. I guess I really didn't even know you. And then him saying, I want to meet my grandkids at the end of that conversation, I'm just like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, the way she said in due time, or the when the time is right, was like a weird thing to say, wasn't it?
Yeah, I saw it as him saying, hold off on coming to Tulsa, mainly because the studio execs are like, we've seen the Nielsen ratings. we don't need Tina in this show.
They're not
Just
doubling down.
Hold off on keeping her in the show at all. I mean, there is no reason.
This is my question. Can I ask why Taylor Sheridan didn't have Chicky just go over and off them right there after he said Dwight's gone? The family goes first. They don't know anything about it. He doesn't know. He just he calls. She hasn't answered. I mean, in a couple days, I don't know.
He is the creator. He hasn't written everything.
Okay. Well, just the thought. Have you guys thought about that? Like, why wasn't there some kind of price put on her after they decreed that he's gone? I mean, if they're going to pick out a maid guy, she's nothing to them.
They have to have a plan for this character.
I don't actually think Chicky wanted to get rid of them. I think attacking her husband was really just sending a message. And he doesn't actually want to take out Dwight's family.
Yeah.
I feel like he's just turned into like an evil prick in general. And he's like one of those gangster guys, like, I'm taking you and your whole family down. He killed his own dad. I mean, I'm just thinking.
I can see where you're going with that.
Yeah, I'm just going at really hard. I'm leaning really into it, you know?
Well, later on in the episode, he has that phone call with Dwight, and he keeps calling him Uncle Dwight, which is great at
using him, I think.
Not just using him, but
diffusing.
Diffusing, yes, but masquerading as a friend.
Right, for sure. Sure. It was definitely to soften him. Yeah.
Dwight didn't buy it at all.
Oh, not at all. I think he read right through that.
Dwight was kind of telling him that's not necessary because he could read the tea leaves, and he knows, you haven't called me Uncle Dwight since I got out of jail. This is not like stupid Vinny or whatever his name is like, oh, and the Oscar goes too. And it's like, no, man, Dwight didn't buy that at all.
Nope.
But this goes back to what I was saying. I think that Goody is in touch with Dwight this entire time. And he's like, these are the conversations we've been having. So keep this in mind next time you two talk. If it seems weird, it's because it is weird. Obviously, we haven't been shown that, and that's just me kind of.
So you're assuming that they haven't shown us, but Goody and Dwight have been in constant communication. That'll come up somehow.
Well, I think Goody and Dwight reconnecting really, really changed Goody's perspective.
I thought coming out of that, he felt like, yeah, we can take advantage of more of this. Like, I thought he's a good earner. We got the money. We're going to get, like, I thought he still saw it very business-like, even though he was good with them, if that makes sense.
It is, but that's because Dwight is incredibly honest. He's not lying to any of them. He will tell them what he's doing. If he owes them money and has to send them money, he will send it. So Goody's like, this guy's doing exactly what we're asking.
Right.
So why are we just going to turn around and kill him when he is the oldest surviving member of that family, that mob family?
And I agree. Like, I like Goody. Yeah. I think he seems like an upstanding. I wish there was more of a role for him, actually.
Yes, I agree.
Because he was really good. I thought his dialogue was excellent.
Yeah. Next up, Mark, the ATF raids the biker bar. And you brought up a very good point. On what grounds?
Yeah.
How legally could they do this?
Clearly, I didn't see a warrant. So they're implying they just walked in there, and then they take the freaking laptop that the lady got killed for. They couldn't have done that last episode. Right. There's a laptop in there. Where is it? It's in the thing. Oh, we'll just raid it then. Who gives? I mean, what the death of her caused her knee jerk to raid it and possibly have stuff that are like inadmissible against a case in a case of some sort. I'm confused.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And also, Waltrip saw Roxy on the laptop.
Right.
Hide it. Put it somewhere else.
After that, you don't think like, oh, they at least they have an idea something's up, so maybe I should put it somewhere else, or maybe take it with me.
Yeah, exactly. He catches Roxy on the laptop looking at files. He finds out, well, not finds out, she admits that she's a rat.
Right.
He then gets a call from Stacy with the ATF, so he knows what's happening, and he just leaves the laptop there.
Yeah. What are the biker guys who are hazed until they get their like
Prospects?
The prospects. Thank you. Can't he just have a prospect laptop, bitch? Can't he just be like, here, prospect?
Yes.
This is yours. You lose this, you die.
I agree.
Like
That makes the most sense.
Come on with this bunk. It's just laying around now. After not the first time. Totally understandable the first time, but after the woman pried it open, yeah, maybe put it somewhere else.
And I feel like the scene is very much problematic. Like there's no way around that. And I think that's why we get the next scene to kind of swerve us, because it's Dwight and Margaret's ex-husband. So while we're confused as to how the ATF was able to raid the biker bar, we then get this comedic scene between Dwight and the ex, which I think is pretty fucking funny.
It is beautiful. I love how the guy just absolutely misreads Dwight.
Yeah.
Like, you city folk. You're one of them slicker guys. Mm-hmm, sure.
It's just a really good back and forth. And the writing for the show, the dialogue is great.
It is. And that character, that actor was excellent for it. He's like that skinny, smarmy, country-ish, but but refined Midwest guy.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't hate him. I know I'm supposed to, and I know I like Dwight more than I like him, but
he's your kind of prick, though.
Oh
yeah.
my God. Is he ever? It's great.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's certainly a compliment. It's just he's your kind of prick. Like
he's such a dick.
Because he's also trying to protect her, but he's also trying to play alpha, like he's the one who's got it. You know what I mean? Like he's the one. Yeah. And that's funny. Like I'm still, don't take care of her or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay.
Misreading the room with the best of intentions is basically what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
So then we go back to Stacy because we have to, and she's looking at the stolen laptop. And is there no password on this thing?
Also, no.
Yeah.
I mean, could they at least maybe it's like, yeah, we encrypted it, or we hacked it, or something? Couldn't they at least say they did? Can't you throw a 2-second something?
Yeah, it's like they just opened it up and all of the information was right there on the screen. And
it was like logged into all of the. So I know some people have these. I don't have one. I wish I did, but they have like foreign exchange accounts. Mm-hmm. It's like married to the serial number of the laptop. The stuff you have to go through to get logged in correctly so you can do a trade properly is ridiculous. And this person, they just opened it up and it's the hidden stuff that they've been looking.
Yeah.
I know it's a little thin, but once again, I think to Sandra's point, what do you think, Sandra? They've got 2 episodes left, right?
One
after this one, but they got to speed things up a little bit.
I think you guys are getting caught up on unnecessary details. Like I'm sure that the ATF has tech guys that could hack a laptop, and there's no reason to spend screen time showing that. Here's the finished product. I think the more important thing is, what are they going to do with that information?
Good point.
Couldn't tell you. Probably nothing.
So
they're going to have to do something, because the entire biker gang was arrested, and the only 2 that were not arrested were Waltrip and his, did they say Sergeant at Arms or something like that? And he's now gone. So there's only one loose end there, and it's Waltrip. And all of his money is tied to this laptop account that they have in their hands.
Curious to see if the ATF gets to Waltrip before Dwight does.
Well, wasn't the guy outside the bar who shot up the bar that got killed also the Sergeant at Arms? And then the other guy graduated. That guy at the end of the show was then
it was
new
Roxy's boyfriend who was murdered. Right. Yeah,
but that was the Sergeant at Arms, correct?
At the time, yeah, they need a new one. Okay,
so then the new guy. So that was the other guy with McAdams, right at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just trying to clarify the timeline and all that, and the right people and everything.
We hit the scene where Bodhi and Jimmy are talking, and Jimmy goes all in on the casino. We've covered that. So we will go next to the corrupt cops who stopped Dwight, and he just calls them out. intimidates them. Honestly, a pretty decent job at enforcing threat on both sides. So I'm curious to see how the corrupt police force plays out in the next episode. And as I'm curious about what happens here, then we're just thrown Stacy and her therapist. And where are we going with this? Mark, you've been pretty vocal about Stacy and Dwight's relationship. Sandro, you as well. In just a very short summary, is this anything we need to even consider anymore? Does this need to be in the show?
Well, about the state troopers, if I may, you have to admit that even that scene was funny when Dwight gets back in the car and he forgot his gun.
Yeah.
But he still pulled it off. It's like that guy is just, blood in the, or ice in the veins, right? Something. But yeah, Stacy, I think they finally admitted the daddy issue thing. I think that kind of just locked it. I think that actually was smart, but maybe they could have done that a long time ago and we could just not have been upset about this whole thing existing.
I'm fine with it. I really didn't have that much of a problem with Stacy this episode.
Okay.
Clearly you guys did, but I found it interesting that this entire episode was almost a race between her and Waltrip. Was Waltrip going to get to Dwight before she got to Waltrip? And it perfectly came to a head with the final scene.
See, I'm pretty interested in that. That's how you were looking at the episode, because I never even gave that a thought. I misthought all of that altogether.
That was the most insightful thing I've ever heard, and I didn't think that either.
Well, I'm just so much more focused on the other characters that I actually enjoy, because I find Waltrip to be very problematic as a character, and I guess it's my bias, my appreciation of the other characters in the show, where I'm so much more focused on what they're doing that I ignore what some of the other characters bring to the plot of the episode. We've covered Chicky and Dwight's phone call, where Chicky keeps calling him Uncle Dwight and everything. So let's just jump right over to dinner with Manny and Clara. I'm going to say right now, I think this entire scene is to show that Manny is probably going to go 100% crazy in the next episode.
He's all in.
Yeah.
He's going to show it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Sandro, are you a Manny fan going 100% in? Or do you think this is a lead to a different story angle?
This is entirely leading up to him dying.
You think?
Yeah.
So you think he's going to be one of the casualties in the finale?
Absolutely. I think that this was essentially him as a father and a husband died in that scene, and now his physical body will die in the next episode.
It makes sense. I hope you're wrong. I would love to see Crazy Manny around for a while, but we don't know how long the show's going for, so you're probably right there. I didn't see that coming, and now I hope that's not the case, because I don't want the show to end that way.
That's a beautiful insight again, and I hate it again. Yeah. But yeah, I could see it happening, but I feel like he's going to kind of play more the sergeant of arms for the mafia guys, because he knows how to handle a weapon. So maybe he plays a little bit more of a structured role.
Yeah, we've learned that sergeant in arms is not a position that you want to hold if you don't want to die.
No, definitely not.
I understand, but I'm talking about like the armor, right? In some way, or the guy who's like the trainer, the guy who's showing everybody, the expert, right? I mean, or how to conceal, how to do this, how to earn. He'd definitely be a good lieutenant, right? Obviously, in that way, at the lower, mid-level.
Totally fine with Manny dying. I just want to see him around for a few more episodes, showing his true character.
I feel like they're building him up too much to make him less expendable. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they're trying to do now, but I totally understand that possibility of him dying for sure too.
So what happens next confused me at first, but hearing Sandro's explanation makes a lot more sense. And that was Stacy confronting Dwight and telling him to forget all about Waltrip. My note says, "What are we doing here?" But Sandro said it's a race between the two of them, and that fully explains the scene to me. But it does lead into the bikers doing what I had written as a drive-by. It's more of a drive-up, stop, shoot, and then continue on. But Stacy gets hit. I'm not going to lie, guys. I was kind of hoping that would be the end of the character. What do you both think about this incident?
I believe you guys heard me say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not thinking it's fatal. So
No,
I feel bad now because I feel bad. Like I actually like Stacy, the actor and the character and everything. Not just the way she is. The daddy thing explains it all and kind of makes me feel sympathetic toward her more. That
Agreed.
She can't get out of that. Like this kind of explained us about her in a way that makes us her like her. We always thought she was ridiculously attached in some weird, crazy way too soon, and it makes sense.
Yeah. This one episode really made me forgive what we've been shown of her previously.
And I just had a light bulb moment come, if I may, before I lose it. So the woman in the beginning shooting, she lost her dad to suicide. Dwight pushed his daughter away. Manny's leaving his family, so he's no longer a father and a husband. Do you know there's like a theme going through this where this husband or patriarchy kind of relationship is kind of fading? Mark loses his son. So there seems to be this thing of a father theme that just kind of popped in my head with all of these characters in this one.
I can't argue that.
Literally,
that's a very good point.
All of them now, and it's literally just popped in my head. It took all that to put it together, but if you line them all up, they all had father, like suicide, right? Like all had father issues in some weird way.
No, it very much makes sense. It's a wonderful point to make. Some very good insight. I missed out on
Even
that
Chicky
completely.
had father issues.
Yeah. That was the most apparent of everyone.
The weirdest daddy issues I've ever seen.
But we end with what we assume is Dwight being arrested, even though we don't see it. But also Sandra brought up the point that Stacy can no longer deny her involvement with Dwight because now the ATF, the police are there. She is on scene. He did say that there's certain ways she can talk around it and talk herself out of it, but there is a direct connection now. And honestly, I think this is probably the most excited I've ever been to watch the next episode. They built it up so well. How are we feeling about going into the finale?
Well, two things about that. One is we did see the new Sergeant at Arms, the guy with McAdams, go down. We don't know which weapon did that, and one of them is missing from the scene.
Indeed.
So that's very interesting. I'm curious if they're going to follow into that some weird way.
Definitely.
And then secondly, obviously, would be, it's interesting how this is going to continue. I'm excited. Yeah, you're right. This has probably been the one I've looked most forward to.
Yeah.
Well, Stacy is going to be very vital in this next episode. I think it's going to depend on her actual condition, because if she's not dead but say unconscious, they decide that, or they discover that the bullet in the Sergeant at Arms is not her bullet. She is going to need to essentially be able to say Dwight was acting in self-defense. But if she's, say, in a coma or unconscious, she can't do that. And I think that she's going to have a vital role in all of this. And that's going to be a big part of Dwight's ultimate fate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up, called it perfectly.
You've Yoda'd this episode. Like you brought up things I'm not even thinking about, and I'm like, wow, my head is blown, gentlemen. I've missed you guys. I really have.
Yeah, well, I think we're all pretty stoked to cover this last episode together. So
very much.
Right, so before we get to that, why don't we get to our individual highlight of the episode?
I'm gonna have to say the very beginning, the firearm training. It's great to start off an episode of the show with such a laugh fest. I couldn't hold it in. I started guffawing immediately. It was great. I loved it.
2 for 2, gentlemen. 2 for 2. That beginning scene, watching, because I know people who work with handguns or work with firearms, and watching newbies, and I've worked with experienced people. I even watched watching who's the guy the bartender holding when he held
Mitch.
it. I'm like, Mitch. I'm like, even he's holding a little bit off, but then going down the line and watching them all hold it in the most different ways. Mm-hmm. It was hilarious. What do you think, Sandra?
I liked it. Although I don't know if I can say it was my highlight, just because my favorite part was actually Dwight bluffing the cops. He just had his hand in his and I think that once it actually gets out that Waltrip is the only one left, I think that the cops are going to develop a backbone and stand up for themselves. Now that like the entire biker gang is in there, I think it's going to be a very pivotal moment that nobody really put that much thought into in this episode.
I did like the interaction.
I feel like they've built Waltrip up so much that they can't make him look that weak, and that something is going to happen, like he'll team up with Chicky or something. But yeah, that is a very good point. I'm curious to see what's gonna play out.
All right, so now we have the very difficult task of ranking this episode, because it has been a little while. But kind of where do you guys think this one fits?
Not the best, but it did get us back on track and made me excited to see how it plays out. We're what, episode 8? Looking back at it. I'm gonna say third best for me.
Okay, so just after Caprice?
Yeah.
I will agree. I was gonna go 2, 3. I'll go with 3 as well. It's certainly up there. It made me re-excited and reinvigorated and ready for this last episode.
My personal thought was to have it literally second, just behind the very first episode. I think this episode had pretty much everything. It had humor. It had a goodbye to the daughter. It had a lot. It had a
goodbye to Stacy. It had a goodbye.
No, it's not goodbye to Stacy. Stacy is going to be still very vital, but we might not see the daughter again. That being said, I am perfectly fine dropping it down 1 mark to agree with you guys and have it third.
Okay.
I personally was just leaning towards second because it set up so much for the finale. It had great humor. It had a little bit of action, and it definitely had a great cliffhanger ending where like you just want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, agreed.
The second those cameras turned off, but I'll put it in third, and then we'll see what happens the next episode.
From everyone here at Channel Surfing, remember, here we are, bloody but not beaten, down but not out. From this point on, this city and everything in it belongs to us. Until next time.